I don't know how anyone can look at the Tom Homan bribery case and not be 100% convinced not only that Tom Homan is a criminal, but that this is probably the biggest DOJ cover-up we've seen in a while. And I don't believe in cover-ups, right? I don't believe the Epstein files is a cover-up because the Biden DOJ had a look at those, right? This case came up under Biden, right? If you don't know the story, his FBI essentially got a tip-off from one of their other investigations that Tom Homan, during the Trump campaign, was soliciting or accepting bribes for large sums of money for contracting positions. Once he supposedly got elected into the Trump administration and got this high-ranking position, right? He was going to shell out these money to contractors in repayment for these bribes that he was taking, right? So the Biden FBI went undercover, hid a camera in some meeting location, and recorded audio of him accepting the undercover FBI agent's bribes, right? It's pretty fascinating. Everyone familiar with this case who reported on this to MSNBC, in the Biden DOJ, thought the case was strong enough to bring without even seeing how the bribes ended up, or if he followed through with them, because you don't have to follow through with the bribe for it to be a crime. You can be charged under a conspiracy to do a crime in the future. That's what conspiracy charges are. But nonetheless, there's tons more to this. JD Vance just completely denies it in the most obscure way in this Stephanopoulos interview. Just look at this clip.
On a bogus story, you're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong, instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Now, that clip went viral for the wrong reasons, because JD Vance was cut off, and people are like, wow, that's so entertaining, right? The interesting part, if you really listen to him, he's like, I don't know. I haven't seen it. Guess what? All the people in the Trump administration have to give over, their tax returns are looked over, when they're applying for the job, right? And this $50,000 would have been on that return. If not, that would be fraud, right? So they have to know for a fact. And JD Vance could make one phone call and easily find this out, right? If he accepted the money. Now, Tom Homan, when pressed on it, didn't say he didn't accept the money. He said he did nothing illegal. So this is just a massive red flag that he did do something illegal, because he doesn't even deny, I'm not taking the money, and the money was in the context of an undercover FBI investigation that was specifically meant to expose him for this crime that the Biden DOJ, the fairest DOJ in the world, the history of the world, may I suppose, did not charge him for, and they decided to wait until the Trump administration DOJ, which, I've never believed in a deep state. This is the most deep state thing I've ever seen. Epstein files is probably not deep state. It was the people supposing that the Biden DOJ was hiding something. Those are the crazy people, right? The Biden DOJ was not a deep state with the Epstein files. They simply looked at them and said, we can't gather enough evidence here to charge anyone, so why defame all the people in the Epstein files? Trump administration did the same thing once they found out that was the reality, and Kash Patel had to embarrass himself. But this is clearly a cover-up, and so many NGOs, I think, or I think there's just one big one, that's suing I don't know on what grounds, to have these released, because we know for a fact that they exist. Multiple sources corroborate each other, all familiar with this investigation, with this undercover operation, say these audio recordings definitely exist. The fact that they're not being released is because, if they were released, no one would doubt anything. They would say the context that would have to exist in order to make this man not guilty in the face of these audio clips it's unimaginable. And these audio clips would probably have to be played on Fox News, unless Fox News wants to really out themselves as a state propaganda machine, right? And then that would, throw one of the big Trump people under the bus. So that's JD Vance is playing dumb. I bet he does know. He probably does, because this story has been out for like 10 days now. Nobody's talked about it. Like, to be honest, I follow the news pretty closely. I only knew this when this clip went viral. Like, why aren't people talking about this more? This seems to be one of the most, clearest examples of the DOJ just being just completely absurd. Talking about the DOJ, they fired 2 officials who worked with Jack Smith, just because they worked for Jack Smith. This comes after, all the firings, all the firings for people who, supported the Mar-a-Lago raid against Trump after he defrauded NARA for a whole year, right? So this is just one on top of another example of Kash Patel's DOJ. I don't know how these people can lie this badly. It wouldn't surprise me if Tom Homan got put on the pardon list. Trump actually went to Israel and suggested Netanyahu be pardoned. That's that's a random fact, but he's probably going to pardon Tom Homan, because the next administration is going to pick it up, see that he did this extremely immoral bribe, right? Or was soliciting these bribes. We don't even know what kind of bribes he did solicit. The fact of the matter is he solicited the one that the FBI set him up for, right? Which some right wingers are probably going to complain about, why is the FBI setting? No, they didn't set him up for no reason, right? They had an impetus for it. Someone said that he was already soliciting these bribes, so they already had a pretext, a reasonable suspicion, as Tom Homan, that's Tom Homan's favorite word, right? Reasonable suspicion. If you're brown, then that makes you reasonably suspicious. Yeah, you might think that if you get tipped off for selling off government contracts, that's also reasonable suspicion, maybe a little bit more so. So completely legal. Tom Homan in general is just a scummy person, money-wise, right? Besides his politics, which are awful. Justifying the search and seizure of people based on the color of their skin overtly on Fox News, just to kind of justify his lack of moral character. But money-wise, he had this consulting firm that was that was sold off his politics. He's been in politics for a while. He all the money he's made has been off of his Trump branding, right? He did the zero tolerance policy in the first administration. He oversaw that. He's been at this for a while. He is a complete loyalist. He probably has done many more, suspect things with his consulting firm, right? But that's pretty much it for this. It's just a short story.